And in the book, it was like the equation to solve any issue, any goal. 1 plus 2 equals 3. In this equation, you are one. No one's coming to save you, right? And no one thinks about you more than you think about yourself. What do you think about you?
Hmm.
How do you talk to yourself? How forgiving are you? We all make mistakes. You forgive other people. You're not going to forgive yourself. If you make a mistake, we set up this podcast. You got the wrong time zone. You showed up late. Like, are you like, oh, Will, you're such an idiot, you stupid fucking dummy? It's like a lot of us talk to ourselves like that, and
Hmm.
no one's in your head to know the truth, but and you know how you talk to you. And so in that equation, 1 plus 2 equals 3. You are one. You're your own number one. You have to believe in yourself. And the funny thing is, after you believe in yourself, it's so much easier for other people to believe in you.
I have the pleasure of interviewing Cam Effin Awesome. Yes, the F is what it stands for. He was a former boxer. Met this dude at a TED Talk. He was brilliant about what he was talking about, the humor. He had the everybody engaged. And when I was hearing his story about him walking 6 miles, telling stories in his head, and how he was able to overcome a lot, I just wanted to reach out to him. How you doing, Cam?
I'm doing well, man. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Yeah.
meet you too, dude. It's like when I watched you up on the stage, I was like, holy crap, this dude is impressive. And I was just like, when you showed the interview clip of you talking to that lady, and it was just like, you weren't dancing around the questions. You were just expressing how much you were enjoying the situation.
Yeah. Just gotta enjoy life, man.
Yeah. Like you just told me that you were doing a stand up comedy over in Austin, Texas now. You were like a jack of all trades. Like, before we get into your childhood, let's just talk about, like, what got you into doing comedy?
Do you remember the show All That?
I think so.
It was like it was back in the Keenan and Kel days on
Okay.
Nickelodeon. It was basically Saturday Night Live, but for children,
Mhm.
like sketch comedy. I always wanted to be on that show, like, as a kid, and I thought I wanted to be a performer, and I didn't know what that meant, but I knew I wanted to perform, and while I was traveling around with boxing, instead of listening to music, because 'cause I'd be driving for, like, 8, 10 hours at a time, instead of listening to music where it's a new song every 3 minutes, I'm like, a comedy special. I would just download these hour comedy specials or, like, do the Pandora back in the day when that was a thing, and I just fell in love with the art of stand-up comedy.
Who was your most influential person that you listened to?
Patrice O'Neal. He's Patrice O'Neal's, my favorite comic. He's since passed, I think passed in, like, 2013, but uh, he was brilliant. So I do I love all different types of comics. Like, I don't have a necessarily favorite one. I will say Mike Birbiglia. Are you familiar with who he is?
I think so. Let me actually pull him up.
Yeah.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he did he did Sleepwalk with Me. He's a comic with a sleepwalking, disorder, and he jumped out of a window in Waiawaya, Washington, doing a comedy show, like, asleep in a Hilton, and he explained that story. It was just, like, one story, beginning to end, and in the story, it was funny, it was there he would go off on tangents about something, but it always come back to the main point of the story, and
Huh.
at the end of it, it was, like, one piece of art, and I saw that, and I was like, "I'm gonna do that," but with a motivational twist to it. So I wanted to come up with the kind of genre of motivational humor.
Dude, that's pretty sick. So when I think about humor, I think about Robin Williams. I think about, wow, this guy's name is drawing a blank. He was a comedy from England. He's very dry. He's a very snapback artist. Listen to Hispanics. Wow, crap. I'm drawing a real big blank right now. But comedy has been one of those things I wish I spent more time listening to because we always need a good laugh. But the motivational humor, going back to that, when you were doing that TED Talks over here in Billings, That's exactly what you did. You were giving a motivational speech about, and I don't want to like take away from it, but walking 6 miles both ways, sharing a story inside your head, then when you lost a fight, you were actually explaining it in such a poetic way instead of actually being upset. You had a smile on your face, you were just enjoying it. So, you learned that from comedy the whole time, or was that also innate when you were a kid?
Uh, I've I've learned to, I guess, remove myself from a situation enough to realize, like, I'm gonna eventually figure it out. It's not gonna be that bad. And I've gotten that because, like, every time I've gone through something, I've figured it out. Like, well, I don't even know what's going on in your life, but you survived a pandemic, right?
Mhm.
What aren't you capable of? So
Hmm.
when something happens, I'm just like, "Oh, I'll figure this out. I'll have to enjoy this moment. It's gonna sting." It's like even getting your heart broken. You're like, logically, this is the worst feeling ever. I feel like I'll never even eat food again. In the back of your mind, you're like, all right, in about 6 weeks, I'll be all right. But right now sucks.
Hmm.
I just know how to put myself 6 weeks ahead. I know I'm gonna get there.
But then you're able just to enjoy the moment a little bit. That's freaking awesome, then.
Yeah.
So, tell me about you getting into boxing. Like, tell me about your childhood. Why did you start fighting or boxing?
I first of all, I didn't know there was a word for anxiety. And so I dealt with bullying in elementary school where this kid, every time he saw me, it was on site. And it got so bad that the school started to release me 10 minutes early so I can get home before he got to me.
Hmm.
And when I was leaving home, like when I was leaving school early, that's when I started telling myself the story of why I was leaving. It was like I was afraid, I was a coward, I couldn't defend myself. And I learned as like people, we have an innate ability to play the role to a T that like in the story we tell ourselves, because we all tell ourselves stories. And I became very good at avoiding confrontation. I didn't understand what anxiety was, but I was afraid all of the time. And I didn't know what I was afraid of. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but something was going to happen at some point. And if I was like on edge, it would help me prepare for it in some way. Uh, I would volunteer in the nurse's office in middle school because I was afraid to be in the cafeteria around that many people because I just can't calculate what would go on. And then in high school, I got into my first fight and lost, but in my defense, she was very strong.
What was her name?
I shouldn't say it anymore.
Well, shout out to the mystery woman that led you on that path. God bless her.
Yeah, yeah. So, that's when I decided I was like, okay, maybe another year had gone by. I wanted to join the boxing gym. Because I figured if I looked like this big scary boxer and I got jacked, people would leave me alone because no one wants to fight that dude. And my thought process was if I do the boxing workout, I'll look like a boxer. I'll never have to do the boxing part. But I was afraid to go to the boxing gym because I was also chubby. I was a chubby kid. And I figured if there were like bullies at school, there could only be professional bullies at the boxing gym. So my goal was to lose weight before I can go to the boxing gym because I was kind of nervous. And it was probably even a point of me trying to avoid going to the boxing gym because it was like I was scared. Uh, but I figured I was scared anyway, so I might as well choose something I'm being scared of. And I decided to go rollerblading every day because I was super cool. No one in my neighborhood rollerbladed, by the way.
Oh, man. Dude, it makes so much sense when you say, "Hey, I might have actually found another avoidance to it." Like, even just humans, in my role in my school I'm going to, we'll actually create so many different barriers just to avoid the first barrier and be able to create this whole new situation problem that we just sort of try like, "Oh, I can handle this problem I created, but this one's out of my control, so I don't wanna actually mess with this."
It'll help me procrastinate that a little bit longer.
So you were a rollerblader. Wow, man. I remember
Y I just it's so cool. I even as I still rollerblade, like, yeah, I don't know why, like, because I remember rollerblading was cool because kids roller skate, and I remember, like, being 11 or 12, like, "Yo, Imma get on those blades one day." And then, like, do you remember Halloween was cool? Everyone and then you turn, like, 14, and then everyone was too cool for Halloween. I never stopped thinking it was cool. So I do see because I was a kid who's like, "I'm not gonna pretend it's not cool." So I didn't fit in a lot because I thought out loud, and
I
yeah, I
love it,
just
man. I do, man. Seriously, like part of what I've actually come across is that so many times we put these layers of mask on that when you're just saying like, "Hey, oh, this is not cool anymore. I'm gonna put a mask on. I'm gonna cut part of myself off so I seem okay." Well, you're like, screw that shit. I'm just gonna enjoy me or not." That is freaking awesome, dude.
yeah, sometimes it sucks because I know when I do that, I'm going to rub people the wrong way, and, like, I have because we have this thing where I think, like, "Oh, if I'm just likable, 100% of the people will like me." But that's never the case. So then we put these masks on, but when I don't have any mask on, I know, like, I rub large percent of people the wrong way off the bat, and now I feel like I can't even trick those people into liking me. So I just have to, like, accept it. And it saves me a lot of time. Like, I legally changed my last name to Awesome. If you find that out and you don't like me because of it, you saved me a lot of time because I probably wasn't going to like you either. It's like, it's efficient.
I learned that type of trait when I got out of a hospital when I did a 13-week for residential for post-traumatic stress disorder, and before I went to that, I did a acute psychiatric hold for 7 days, and I'm like, "Damn, how do I tell somebody I just spent 13 weeks of my life working on my mental health in a hospital setting?" I'm like, "Are they gonna tell me I'm freaking crazy?" Then after that, after I left there, I read this book, it was called Chasing Failure by Ryan Leake, and I
Yeah.
was like, "You know what? Screw it. This is who I am. If you don't like me, outstanding. You like me? Awesome." And then it's just like, I'm gonna tell you who I am, what I'm about. I wanna be able and if you don't like it, that's awesome for you, man. I hope you find the people that you enjoy.
Yeah. It's in hindsight, it's easy to say, but in the moment, it's tough for a lot of us. I've gotten to the point where it's expected of me to be me, and I purposely put the F in my name for that reason. And I'm a speaker, and there's a lot of places, believe it or not, who won't book me because there's an F there. But I think that F to me symbolizes, and this is the first time I'm like verbalizing it in this way, but to me, it symbolizes the ability to take your mask off. Like, you're just going to have to accept the F, accept me or not, because that F could be whatever it is you're hiding because you don't want anyone to think you're weird or different, as if you worked so hard to stay the same.
We're not robots. We're not replaceable. We're not cogs in a wheel. We are who we are. And we will use the word accept, but at the same time, I feel like the biggest gift I can give to somebody is my authentic self. Because if I actually only give them part of myself, I'm rejecting myself. So I'm already creating this hatred and this divide between us. And if I'm actually showing you who I am, I'm showing you with all the love what I can do. And you being able to say, you know what, that dude's a quirky ass bastard. Great. He wears these weird shirts. I have Simba and Nala
Oh,
on top of.
I was just checking out the Lion King shirt.
But I do this just to throw people off kilter. I'm a 6'2", 265-pound guy and a former Marine, and it's just like, you know what? We're gonna have dialogue about mental health. You know, if I was coming here with plaid shirt or a button-up thing, I'm gonna also automatically create this barrier, this narrative where I can't be able to get to you. So
Yeah,
yeah, Go ahead.
That's funny. So I have this thing where because people are like, "You don't seem like a boxer because you're happy." I was like, "No, no. Everyone, every killer I know, like these jujitsu dudes and jujitsu nerds, I'm like, everyone who can kill you is the nicest person ever. It's always the insecure person who has to walk around and try to act tough. I'm like, oh no. Like, you go to nationals, there's dudes with their shirt off, beating their chests, and there's like a group of nerds in the corner, like playing Uno. The ones in the corner playing Uno are those are the champions from last year. Like, they're so secure in themselves, they don't need to be tough. That's why they can show up in a Lion King shirt. No one will say anything.
No, no, they don't. They look at me and they're like, "All right, bud, I don't even know how to take you anymore." And it's just I have to say these type of shirts actually allowed me to be seen by other people. For a while, like, we put those masks on. Like, I started off, I was playing in a kickball league, and I'm 40 years old now, so I was actually at that time, I think I was 37. I was playing this kickball league, trying to make some friends here in Montana, and all of a sudden, was getting dressed up, and I wore this pink flamingo shirt. So many people started talking to me about different stuff, and then I was like found out about this clothing brand called Roosevelt's, and then all of a sudden, just like my narrative changed because I'm like, oh, I get seen by this, great. We have a conversation starter, awesome. Now I get a chance to know a little bit about yourself, and it just becomes a lot more authentic.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of people struggle with even the fact they don't wanna be seen. Yeah, and I love that you wear those shirts because then one of my least favorite thing in the world are strangers. So my goal is I'm trying to get to know as many people as I can to get rid of them. So, like, I lived in my van for 3 years. My one of the things I would do is if I went to a restaurant and I saw someone was sitting by themselves, as long as you didn't receive your food yet, I would ask if I could join you.
Hmm.
And like 7 times out of 10, someone says yes. It's always like a little weird at first, but then once they realize like I'm not homeless, I don't want a free meal or anything. People don't know what to think when someone just asks. And I've had some amazing conversations and I'm still connected on Instagram with those people. I'll never see them again, but it's just a random conversation we had at a diner in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, I think that's the community that we're lacking in society today because you know everyone at work and also you don't allow people at work to see you with your mask off because it's directly connected to your income. Like, I will say it's very difficult for people to be their authentic selves because they can't have their life on social media or they have to carry themselves in a certain way. We all got jobs and we can say like, no, you have to say what you think. No, sometimes you can't. This is adulthood. You got bills to pay and you start compromising yourself.
It's the truth.
And yeah, it's difficult.
Like, honestly, it's starting up this podcast. I work for the VA as a peer specialist, and I've got really connected with the suicide prevention team. And one of the guys who heard a conversation because I went on a psilocybin retreat, and he was like, "Well, what about this? What about that?" And I'm like, "You know what? I Todd, I love you, bud, but I'd rather die on this cross than living on my knees." And I was like, after him and I had a long conversation about this type of stuff, he was just like, I really respect what you're doing. I don't see a problem with it. It's just more of so I did like one retreat but then besides that, I talked to a spectrum of people and they're like, what about this? What about that? I'm like, these are all adults. They're sharing their own stories.
Yeah.
And they also understand they can always give me a call. They can always reach out if they need anything. And maybe this might be the conversation that breaks them to the point where they're like, "Hey, maybe I'm gonna dive deeper. Maybe this is something that I need to actually be able to explore myself." And we hear from people in professional settings where it's like, "Well, this is how you're supposed to dress." I go work in an office, and I tell my supervisor, "I never really worked in the office. I work with my hands. I worked with my hands most of my life." And I'm like, "This doesn't make sense to me." But you know what? I trust you enough to guide me in the correct ways, and I am who I am, and they all love it.
Yeah. That the not dressing, that was a difficult because I was an athlete for my whole time, and then I spoke at schools, and schools, you can just show up however you want. And now I'm, like, doing corporate events, and I leave the F in my name because I want to be authentically me.
Mhm.
And sometimes it feels like I'm shooting myself in the foot or pushing water uphill. And my girl sometimes is like, "Is it worth the battles?" I'm like, "Yes, it is worth the battle." And now as I'm trying to, like, elevate in life and grow out of my current circle and, like, upgrade and all that, I find myself going into the corporate space, and I don't wanna wear a suit. The thing is, I love wearing suits. Like, when I MC events, I love wearing suits and I love dressing up, but I don't like that I have to for the speaking engagement because 'cause I'm like, "No, you want me because I am me, right? If I dress like all of you, I might as well have been you. Let me be my authentic self." And then I'm like, "Well, how reasonable am I? Where's the line?" Because I'm like, "Do I just continue to shoot myself in the foot or do I just wear some slacks?" So I'm like, "Where's that line?"
So I've actually thought about this. So I'm doing a speaking event for NAMI here over at Helena. So the first time I'm ever actually doing a huge presentation, they had me talking for an hour about my role, about what I do, how do I help people, and I'm right before lunch, and I'm like, I have this nice suit, and I'm like, no, no, Will, this is not you. That is not you. And so I'm gonna wear a fun shirt to this thing in front of a bunch of, like, psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, business people, and I was like,
You're
"Do I
not
wear
them,
f"
bro.
No, no, I am not.
Yeah.
And this is, like this goes into the conversation of being imposter syndrome. It's like, is it okay to be me? Is it okay to, like, know that I'm never going to be them? And, like, I'm not gonna be Dr. Phil. Like, if I actually have to talk and present, no way in hell am I gonna be able to do it. Like, it's like denying me of me so I can be able to be with them.
Yeah. It's hard to do, especially when you've already started doing it, and then to try to refine who you are, that's that's a difficult process. Or even stopping because whatever you have, you might think you've gotten it because you became this person. And it's like it's sometimes hard to change that because you're like, "Oh, I don't wanna lose what I have right now." The whole idea of, like, letting go of what you have to, like, grab onto something bigger. Yeah.
Well, I'm doing that in December, actually. I, put my resignation in for my job and gave them a 2.5 months notice. So, it's
Congrats, man.
yeah, and I'm starting up grad school, which is an accelerated program through Simmons for my master's in social work. And I'm like, "Holy shit. I'm letting go of this job I really love, I really understand, but I feel the comfort is going to be the death of me." And, like, even in my, my resignation letter, I said, "This isn't goodbye, this is just see you later." And might never return to the office where I work, but at the same time, it's going to be the chance of, "Hey, I'm gonna grow, I'm going to change and have a chance to" I don't even wanna say elevate, but I wanna be able to evolve.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Uh, yeah. Congrats.
Well, thank you, man. So, I know we went off topic about you walking and getting into boxing
Yeah.
because I wanna circle us back to that. So, walking 6 miles, telling yourself the stories, like, how did that impact the way that you trained?
So I I didn't want so I I was in New York and my parents moved down to Florida my senior year of high school. So no one knew me. So I decided to just make a person up that I was in New York. So I want everyone to think I was like this cool, popular, outgoing, funny kid from New York. Basically, if you remember Family Matters, Steve Urkel will drink the potion and become Stefan Urkel,
Mhm.
which was basically a more confident version of himself. that's what I did. So the first thing I got down in Florida, I started wearing contacts. I started like trying to walk with confidence, or what I thought that was. I was trying to make believe this person. And people in my high school bought it because they had no reason not to. When I started to believe it was during the walk to the gym, it was 6 miles. And that's when I just started making up stories because I was listening to a lot of Lil Wayne back then. Right. And rap music is the only genre, it's the only place in the world where you can unapologetically talk about how much the shit you are.
Mhm.
Like, I got this, I'm this great, I'm the best. Like, and that's how I started talking to myself I was Lil Wayne in all those lyrics and just like making up stories in my head. I'm the best, I'm knocking everyone out, I've got all the money, all the cars. And I started to walk around like it. 3 hours and I realized it was affirmations followed by action because the more highly I spoke about myself on the way to the gym, the better I did at sparring, the better I did at the gym. And the better I did it at the gym, I'm like, oh, it was because of the walk. And it became like a feedback loop. And I felt unstoppable because the, the more like the more of the shit I thought I was, the more I was like, I was beating people I had no business beating. And I realized it's because I thought I was supposed to win and I thought I deserved to win. And I realized the more I dedicated to boxing, the more I thought I deserved it. I was
Mm,
worthy of it. I'm like, if I fought you, I'm like, well, you didn't walk 6 miles to the gym. You aren't willing to sacrifice what I'm willing to sacrifice. You don't deserve to win. So in those moments, I won't break. You will.
hmm.
And I think the more you're willing to invest, the less likely you'll be willing to break.
So you became a lot more mentally resilient, and it's patience, delayed the gratification, and you worked right through it. The, question I had, when you started to become Cam, Cam F Awesome at those times, effing awesome, how did it feel to, I don't wanna say, like, dismiss your old self, but did you ever actually feel like a grief of that identity or a loss of that old identity?
Ooh. Actually, funny enough, I changed my name on my half birthday and I threw what I called an afterbirth day party. And I invited a whole bunch of people out and we celebrated the death of the old me and the birth of this new me. Recently, I was thinking about it in this way because I, so I became that confident person from the gym and I was winning all of these fights all around the country. I was captain of Team USA for like 4 years. I won the 2012 Olympic trials, but then I got kicked off the Olympic team for not sending my drug testing paperwork on time. And it was a silly mistake. I mean, I got the minimum sentence. There's no, I tested negative when they were going to test me, but I wasn't there. I, uh, I started beating myself up and I was talking to myself like, cause I'd gained a bunch of weight and it was time for me to get back to boxing. I couldn't get back into it. And I was like, you idiot, you fat loser. And it struck me because I never spoke to myself like that.
Hmm,
I went from always speaking to myself like I was a shit to beating myself up and it felt uncomfortable. It felt like, I was like, oh, we don't do this. Our whole thing is like we talk highly about ourselves and then we get what we want. Like I tell myself I'm capable and then I do that thing. And I wanted to reset that. So when I changed my last name to Awesome, I don't see it as killing off my old self because I liked who I was. Like I don't think you should hate I don't think you should even have to hate yourself to change. I love the word you use evolved. I did that to evolve because
hmm.
I loved who I was. I accomplished all those things. I made myself proud. I showed ambition. I showed dedication. I followed my values. Like I was dope. It was just I didn't like the way I was talking to me. So I wanted to evolve into a person. So when I moved to Florida, I made up certain things about myself and I was forced to follow through with it.
Hmm.
So like I told everyone I was outgoing. So I had to like speak up or like raise my hand and I felt obligated to do it in a way.
Mhm.
And there were a bunch of things that I made myself do that I wouldn't normally do because I had to keep up with this persona I made.
Hmm.
But all of those things that I did was things that bettered my life. It
Mhm.
made me more confident. So in 2012, when I changed my name, or 2013, when I changed my name, I decided I was going to create a person. So I wanted to choose attributes that I wanted. So if you had to choose a list, what would those, because you could do this at any time. You don't have to change your name to do it. You can make a list of things, and I think you should write it down to make it like solid. And one of the things is I was punctual. So what I started doing is I started introduce myself as a guy who's always early. And if I'm like, hey, let's meet, I make sure I'm everywhere early because I have to keep up with that persona that I made. I'm known as the ambitious guy. I make sure I outwork everyone around me.
Hmm.
And it's these traits that I chose that help me better my life. Like I had I had I drank a lot. I'll put it that way. And I even phrase it in that way because I think that's important for me. And I told myself, I told myself, I looked at my life and I said, oh, I looked at people who are around me and the people I want to be like. And I was like, okay, if even if I'm a functioning alcoholic, my life is not terrible. Like I'm still surviving.
Mhm.
But I'm like, if I remove this, I could get to the next level. And I saw a few people around me who they got a DUI or alcohol just made their lives not better. But I was like, I can't see it for my life. Like in my life, I'm like, it doesn't hurt me at all. I'm still surviving.
Mhm.
But I was like, oh, they can't see it either. So I'm like, oh, I can't see it. So I told myself I'm the type of person who could just stop drinking. And because I didn't need to. And it's been 4 years now, and my life has been so much better without I had to make a condition with myself too. I had to set goals, and I was like, I won't drink until I reach these ridiculous goals. And as I'm getting closer to these goals, I'm like, the only reason why I'm getting closer is because I removed alcohol.
Mhm.
But I liked it. Like, but it didn't serve my overall purpose. And as I'm getting older, I'm starting to put more value on my overall purpose and turning things down that like 22-year-old came like, bro, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm laughing because one of the things I ask people is, how does your values and your goals align? And what do you want in the future? What are you willing to sacrifice? Like right now, I'm taking 17 credits, working full time, doing this podcast. I'm like, I'm not drinking until at least December. But I've told people like, oh, why not? And I'm like, well, one, like it just messes with my brain, puts me in a fog. Two, I don't have I don't want to spend the money on it right now. Three, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to be able to wake up groggy, nor do I have the time to be able to invest in going to a bar on a Friday night and actually just blowing through I'm like, no, I don't have time for this shit. And
Yeah.
what my goals are and what my values are, they change. But what's really great about how you described it was, hey, this is what I want to do. You laid it out. You were specific. You measured it. You made it attainable. You also added a little bit of time, so what we call those are SMART goals, and you were doing that for yourself without even realizing it, and maybe you did, and when you talked about writing it down, you're actually able to relook at it. You're changing the way just thinking about it, and one of the things I say to people, if you don't have a plan for a goal, it is just what is that? A dream. You're not
Yeah.
actually getting anything closer to it. Unless you're actually willing to suffer and willing to actually struggle a little bit, willing to give or surrender what's actually not getting you closer.
Yeah.
And good.
Here's I had this thought. I wrote it down, and it was 2 nights ago. I wrote down my phone because usually I forget these things, but I don't know why I wrote it down. It was like, but I realized you can't be happy and comfortable at the same time. And I was like, "Oh, that's what it is," because I'm I have this thing of balance where the more I suffer, the more I get later, right? So,
Mhm.
like, the more I suffer in training, the better the fight is. Like, the more I I'm doing a lot of shit comedy gigs in apartment complexes all around, right? I've done 39 shows since August,
Sick.
and some of them are great, some of them aren't. And I got to headline Zanies on Monday, and because I did so many shit gigs where I had to like grab the crowd's attention and wrangle people and do all this work, when I was on an actual comedy stage, it was so easy to get laughs. And I was like, oh, the more I suffer, the better I get in the future. And that's how like I feel like I'm that's why when you said I don't even know if you said that like I enjoy it's not even that I enjoy suffering. It's just like suffering is just tokens for greatness in the future.
Yeah, it's, do you actually what you're talking about a lot is the reps. You're actually going through the motions. You're preparing yourself for everything else, like all the shortcomings that are gonna come across, the people that are gonna be talking. If you start to lose a part of the audience, how are you pulling them right back in? What you're paying attention to the volume of the place. You're paying attention to the other areas. You're paying attention. So even like you say, shit gigs or the better gigs, what you're doing, you might even one day be like, wow, this thing was a shitty gig. But at the same time, it's like this is not saying you're shitty. This is saying, hey, this is where I'm at right now. And I'm making the best. I'm making those walks. I'm actually training. I'm hitting the bag. I'm going back to basics. Like you learning how to walk 6 miles each way, you learning actually to say, you know what, Cam, let's fucking rollerblade right now. I am the shit.
Y so if you so I did all those apartment gigs, right?
Mhm.
Whether they're good, they were bad, sometimes there were 3 people. I started one show with 5 and it ended with 3 because a couple had to leave at some point, and I'm like, I did all of that. So when I get on an actual comedy stage, I deserve to be there, and that's where the idea of imposter syndrome sneaks in. It's like, you have to remind yourself, you did all the things to get here.
Mhm.
You're not that smart, you didn't trick everyone. It's like, the only person who doesn't think you deserve to be there is you.
Mm.
And I figured that out in 2012. So when I was doing that walk to the gym, I became more of a confident person. Even when I graduated from high school, I stopped walking. I still carried myself in that way. And it would rub people the wrong way. Someone would say something like, hey, you want to try this? I'd be like, I'm probably really good at that. And just I believed in myself in every facet of the way. And it was almost a parody. People thought it was a parody, but I just always thought that of myself. It rubbed people the wrong way. So in boxing, I was a little douchey. Okay. I wore capes. I flipped in the ring. I did celebration dances. I had a great, I thought sportsmanship were for people who wasn't sure they were going to win. Like I was like the Kenny Powers of boxing. That was, that was I was trying to embody. So when I got kicked off the Olympic team, the one of the number one comments on all things was, I bet he's humble now. And it hurt, but I couldn't figure out why.
Hmm.
And I looked up the definition of humble. Have you ever done it?
I have not.
Look it up. And this, why look it up? This changed the way I looked at the way I look at myself because we all tell ourselves stories and we're going to play the role to a T. So who's the character in the story you're telling yourself? So when I was beating myself up during my suspension, do you find the definition?
Yep. Having or showing a modest estimate of one's value or importance,
Does
not
that sound
arrogant.
like a positive trait? Would you wish that on your child?
You know, no, but and also in certain ways, yes, because like you know how you were just talking about before about the best fighters, the ones that are just playing Uno, like they're very modest in estimate of one values of low social, administrative or political rank,
Does that one
lower in
sound good?
no
And the final one,
lower someone in dignity or importance. I knew he had humbled himself to ask for my help. like, when you ask for help, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent right now. Asking for help is actually showing love to yourself. And also, if you look at, what do you call it? How to Influence People and Win Friends, Dale Carnegie. That's the best way to be able to make friends, build relationships, is to ask for help.
Yeah.
W
So when I say I'm big on words and what it means, the Latin root word is humilis, which is lowly,
Hmm,
right? So when I thought about it in that way, I'm like, those boxers playing Uno, they don't have to show. They're not. They have ultimate confidence. It's not humility, because I would say everyone I've met who is very successful, like, because I didn't grow up with much, so I used to think if you have a lot, you must have done bad things to get it, or you're evil, or whatever the case may be. I was a hater back in the day. I'm seeing that,
mhm,
right? I had to change the way I was thinking, because every time I met a successful person, their first thing was, how can they help me? And I realized that they weren't lowering themselves down to me, because if you're killing it in life and you run to someone who isn't, what we normally do, we humble ourselves not to where they are, a little bit lower, so they can feel better about themselves. So who does being humble serve?
hmm.
A
How
true leader will lift everyone up to where they are. So I decided I didn't like the idea of humility. It didn't serve me, because I think it's, if we all tell ourselves stories and you tell yourself a story that's lower and smaller, because growing up, be humble. Don't, if you win, don't let anyone think you're too good. If you're doing too well, don't let anyone know. You don't want other people to feel bad. So we continue to write ourselves smaller and smaller in our story.
hmm,
We call it humility, but it's a righteous form of self sabotage.
hmm,
You show me something you've done and you're like, oh, well, it's not all that good. It's like you're lowering yourself. You should hand that to me like, I've put my heart into this. Check it out. But we're not taught to do that, because we're afraid someone won't like us.
hmm,
But like, that's when I decide, like, show up without the mask. Oh, bro, I think I'm the shit. But Will, I also think you're the shit. The way I feel about me has no reflection on you.
correct.
It's not a zero sum game. We could all be dope.
Like that, man. I actually really respect that, and I love that perspective because while you were talking about humility and not lowering yourself, but actually giving yourself a hand up. So one of my buddies, Nick, I'm not gonna mention his last name. He dude was a badass while he was in the Army Rangers. He had a Bronze Star with a V. It's for valor device. He never told me about it. I came across it because I Google searched him one day, and that's how I found it. So somebody accidentally put it out there. He didn't want people to even know about it. And the guy's extremely successful. Like I said, love this dude. He has 6 beautiful kids, has a stay-at-home wife. His wife is amazing too. All of his kids are great. And I'm like, "Nick, I don't even know how to write a freaking resume." So he's like, "You know what? Let's go meet up for beers and we'll go over it." Never had a chance to even look at the resume. We hung out. And I'm like, "This feels so weird hanging out with this guy because, like, I put him up on his pedestal." And Nick never actually met me that way. It was the way my belief system was. And I was like, I didn't feel internal to be able to get close to a person like that. Even though, well, he when I was in the hospital for the 13 weeks, he came over with one of my buddies that would smoke some stogies. And I told him, I said, actually, the day I went to the hospital for actually, because I almost ended my life back in 21, I called him up. You know what he told me? He said, Will, no one's coming to save you, man. He said, no one's coming to save you. He said, it's time for you to start doing the hard work right now. And I ended up calling my ex-wife. My ex-wife was on the phone with me. We talked for an hour when I was going to the hospital. And when I think about people and relationships I've had, they've done hand ups. It wasn't handouts. It wasn't because they pitied me. It's because they actually loved me. And they loved the honesty of who I was instead of what can we actually create in the transactions. And you're giving me a new outlook of how to look at this word humble.
Yeah, and I know that it's a heavy word because there's a lot of religious background to that word, and I do wanna be respectful of everyone's beliefs, but for my story that I was telling myself, that's to where I viewed it. So when I created this character of myself, I was punctual, I was ambitious, I was hardworking, uh, I was an entrepreneur. There isn't I'm one of the big things, everything is figure outable. I'm the type of person who can figure anything out. That's who I identified as. So
Hmm.
if someone had a problem, I would obsess over it so I can solve the problem, so I can be that person who is always figuring things out. And one of those things was, oh, I'm not going to be humble, which means if I see something, I'm going to be self-aware enough to know who I am, but also gangster enough to ignore it. Because so often we say, "Oh, I can't run a marathon in X amount of time." Or what? I can't even run a marathon. You say that to yourself, right? Because at that point, you haven't been training. Of course, you can't run a marathon. So be self aware enough. Like, yeah, for me to run a marathon, I have to train. And if you're willing, so I wrote a book, and in the book it was like the equation to solve any issue, any goal. 1 + 2 = 3. In this equation, you are one. No one's coming to save you, right? And no one thinks about you more than you think about yourself. What do you think about you?
Hmm.
How do you talk to yourself? How forgiving are you? We all make mistakes. You forgive other people. You're not going to forgive yourself. If you make a mistake, we set up this podcast. You got the wrong time zone. You showed up late. Like, are you like, oh, Will, you're such an idiot, you stupid fucking dummy? It's like a lot of us talk to ourselves like that, and
Hmm.
no one's in your head to know the truth, but and you know how you talk to you. And so in that equation, 1 + 2 = 3, you are one, you're your own number one. You have to believe in yourself. And the funny thing is, after you believe in yourself, it's so much easier for other people to believe in you, even for the smallest thing. If you've never been that consistent person, if you just believe you can be that consistent person and you start to become consistent in whatever that thing is, showing up or whatever it is, eventually people would see your pattern.
Hmm.
And a pattern allows them what to see next. But if your past patterns was real bad, it takes a little bit longer to build that new pattern, to even build new trust.
Hmm.
So that's one. In this equation, 1 + 2 = 3. 3 is the goal, the objective, the outcome. 1 + 2 = 3. 2 is the work you need to put in to get there. Appropriately named number 2 because it's the shitty part of the job.
Hmm.
It's the waking up early. It's the training. It's the doing the thing, even though you won't see the progress right now, but you're working for the idea of delayed gratification. So, like for me in boxing, I would train my ass off. No one would need to see it. I don't brag about it. And I'd suffer in silence and be sore. But I knew when I got in that ring, I was going to dance. I was going to celebrate. I was going to enjoy that moment because that's what the delayed gratification was.
Hmm.
That's I was building up for that moment. It's like, yeah, I'll keep it appropriate, but yeah.
So, question for you: when you actually stepped away, have you fully stepped away from boxing?
Oh yeah, yeah.
How did you feel when you stepped away from boxing?
Uh Relieving. I So the question I ask everyone when they start a few questions when someone tells me they want to be a boxer and I run into these young kids, first question I ask is why are you boxing? There's no wrong answer. Are you doing it to get in shape? Are you doing it to deal with bullying? Are you trying to get abs? Are you trying to learn how to fight? Or you want to defend yourself? Do you want to make money? You trying to get popular? You want Instagram likes? There's no wrong answer. Second question is, what do you want out of boxing?
Hmm.
In 2008, when I won my first national championships, they gave us a form to fill out: height, weight, reach. The last question was, what do you want out of boxing? And my answer is still up there on the website. Some people put millions of dollars, heavyweight belt, Olympic medal. I put to be a good role model and have my own TV show. In 2008, everyone was getting their own reality shows. It was a reasonable goal, but that's what I wanted out of the sport. So my goal was to never turn pro. People are like, why did you turn pro? Well, that's not why I was doing this. I understood the concept of athlete privilege. If you have an associate's degree and I have a national championship and we apply for the same marketing job, who do you think's going to get it? Yeah. If you have a bachelor's degree, but I have 4 national championships, who's gonna get it? Now, once I got about 6 or 7 nationals, I realized there's no more pressure on me. I won already, and that freed up so much stress out of my life because I understood I can use those 7 champ nationals to open up doors and get opportunities that other people don't normally get because I'm very good at a sport. America's a weird country, right? Love it. Because like we treat athletes, I get special treatment. I get free supplements. I get gym memberships. I date outside of my looks. So I understood after 7 nationals, I'm locked in. So I just continued to fight because when you win nationals, you get health insurance for the year.
Hmm.
So and I needed that. So I retired with 12 national championships, and my plan was to use that to transition into speaking. I tried that in 2016, but when I retired from boxing in 2016, or I tried to, I I lost all the privilege I had. I was like, no one cares when you're retired. Like they only care when you're the active athlete.
Hmm.
So I returned for 2 more years just to or 3 more years just to kind of build my speaking business because if I could go to your city and reach out to the news station and say, "Hey, the number 1 boxer in the country, I'm here to speak at a high school." They will put me on the news and they'll have a story about me, and I got those opportunities, but I lost that because no one cares about the former number 1 guy. Uh, but I would say the greatest thing I did with my transition, because in 2012 when I initially lost my athlete privilege, I lost my identity. Because I was the athlete. Like it was all I've ever wanted. And I was cool. People talked to me. I made friends. I couldn't wait to tell you I was a boxer. Like I loved like I loved the fact that people thought I was an athlete. It was a cool life. And then I lost that. And I like didn't know how to introduce myself. And I didn't know what to do with my time. And I luckily I had the opportunity to return back to boxing, but when I did it, I stopped identifying as an athlete and I started to identify as an entertainer.
Hmm.
It was a cop out because I was afraid that if I lost boxing again, I would lose myself. So I always put performing on top of boxing. So I danced in the ring, I was a performer. My fights, I was performing. Like I just posted a clip, I threw a nice combination and I bowed to the audience because this is a performance. And when I retired from boxing, I look at my TED talk, that was a performance. I'm trying to be an entertainer. So I I was able to transition my identity out of boxing so I don't feel a way about having to leave it. I kinda did it slowly.
Gotcha. So when you were talking about the national championships and actually degrees and stuff, one of the biggest things that, and we'll say it's athlete privilege, but what it shows is your dedication, your resiliency, it shows your effort. It actually, so when you look at a lot of times with people with associates or bachelor's degree, they even say 95% of the jobs you could just learn at your job. It's like, but it teaches you how to delay gratification, and that's what they're really, really looking for. But dude, when you started talking about walking away, you actually, your whole voice changed. Your voice changed, like, you could just tell the emotions were there when you were letting go and you were changing, and I was like, "Wow." I was like, "That hit," because there's a guy, he does, Gunny G, he does pit talks, and it's for veterans that are getting out, or he interviews them when they're getting out of the military, and how was your experience getting out of the military? Even though that they're getting out because the EAS end, because that's the end of their active service because he chose not to re-enlist, or some people get medically discharged, their identity is stripped away. And even though it might seem only very small, like 4 years to some people, that's a huge part of their identity. And we get this whole identity crisis. Like we want to just jump onto something like, or How come you're not seeing me in the same light? I'm still Cam. I'm a hell of a boxer, but why do you only filter me through the boxing even though I have all these skill sets?
Yeah. Uh, Here's something that in hindsight I look back on because what you're saying is 100% true, and that's, like, how I felt. So even when I didn't like, in 2016 so 2008, I qualified for Olympic trials, I lost. 2012, won the Olympic trials, got kicked off the Olympic team. 2016, I came back, won the Olympic trials, but lost in international competition, didn't get to go to Rio, right? And then 2020, I tried out for Trinidad and Tobago, won for them, but because of a pandemic and they're an island, they didn't send a team.
Huh.
But like in 2016 when I lost, I was so embarrassed because I'm like, I let everyone down and it reminded me of in 2012 when I didn't get to go. And then I'm like, oh, people can't say that their friend is an Olympian. And then I look back at it, none of them, none of my friends are like they don't even care about boxing. Like it was only because I was boxing. Now that I'm not boxing, they don't care about boxing. It was never about boxing. Like it was never about what you thought the identity was. It was actually you. It was like what you attach the identity to. And all of the people who fucked with me before boxing still fuck with me now. It's like, yeah, there might have been a couple more Instagram likes, but that's not a significant difference in my life. But I could see how you tie yourself to that because I did tie myself to that identity. But yeah, the people who care actually don't care. They care about you so much, it just seems like they care about the thing you're into.
Mhm. It's a secondary effect to what people look at it. Like, I talk to people about, let's use a better one. My mom, my sister cared about the Marine Corps because when I was in the Marines, but they don't care about the service. My dad was a sailor, he Vietnam, but they had such a disdain for it. They're like, "Well, we don't really want to talk about it." My dad never had firearms in the house. I come home from the Marine Corps, he's like, "Oh, I guess we can have a firearm in the house if you want one." Very different type of atmosphere, but it does make sense because it's like we have this persona that we want to keep up, or we want to actually be able to in our brain, it's we're hearing something that they're saying, we're translating it to the belief of what we are hearing, but what they're saying is, "Fucking love you, Cam. It's cool, but
Yeah.
you wanna go ride a tricycle around the block? Outstanding. I'm going to support you with your tricycle."
Yeah. I mean, the same people who were supporting the boxing matches would also show up to the comedy shows.
Hmm,
It's like, oh yeah, they don't care. They're just supportive. The same way you show up to your friend's show.
yeah,
Like, I don't have to like improv. You do improv. I'm watching improv. Like,
mhm,
if you're whatever my friend is like into, and I'm like, oh, it's not the thing, it's the person. And you are the person. And you have to like remember that. And that's the whole like my whole idea of my talk is like reminding yourself that you're great. Like the world will humble you. You don't need to help it. You should speak to yourself highly. You should celebrate yourself. Like you should see how many people you could rub the wrong way by talking highly of yourself. And
well,
it's
that's
gonna be weird. You're gonna feel like an imposter at first because you you've never done that.
hmm,
You've probably never just sat around and thought about how much the shit you are. Going down a list of all the places you've been, all the people you know, the whatever obscure knowledge you have that the average person doesn't know about. Like that's what makes you great. But you're gonna look at somebody else who has that knowledge of something else and think that they're great. Like the whole idea, great movie, 40-Year-Old Virgin.
yep,
Never put anything on the pedestal because then it becomes unreachable. Put yourself on the pedestal. If like, oh, I could do that. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Can I go back and get my master's in for my social work? Yeah, it's going to be hard, but what can I do?
mhm,
I'm gonna do that shit I'm gonna talk my shit the entire time I'm doing it. Every grade I get back, I'm gonna fucking celebrate myself. Yeah, I got a 97. Of course I did. I am the shit. Like, also, if I get a 77, like, yeah, and I'm average wise, I'm still gonna raise it up. Mathematically, I can still put it off. I'm the shit. I can figure it out. I've done so much things in the past. Why
Mhm.
would I think I couldn't figure this next thing out?
So, this is an honest thing I'm gonna tell you, and you're honestly, I don't know if you're trying to motivate me, but you definitely are motivating me, and I have some friends with this I tell them, I say, "Hey, this is why I'm going back to school, and this is what I'm doing." And they say, "Will, you're already doing it. Will, why do you think you need to have letters behind your name to be able to do something?" And I'm like, "Blah, blah, blah." They're like, "Okay. How's that any different than what you're doing right now?" They're like I'm like, "I fucking hate you because you're right now." And I have a friend of mine, her name is Alana. She owns her own store. She's like her whole thing is about creating community here in Billings, and it's called Casual Space. So I bring a bunch of veterans in there on Tuesdays to go play some cribbage and other types of board games, and it's like kind of cool. Her father was a Marine. She likes veterans. She'll do what she needs to do. And since I'm one of her friends, she's like, "Hey, I want to help you out." And she knows I'm extremely busy. If she asks me for something, I'm like, "Cool, how can I help you? What's going on?" And I'm blessed to have a relationship with a person like that where they actually see the best in me and I see the best in them. And it's hard to be able to allow somebody to see the best in you if you can't actually believe that this is actually there. Like you're saying, call yourself the shit. Be able to say, "Hey, I'm the fucking shit." And then all of a sudden, when they're actually calling you out, you're like, "Yeah," it doesn't sound like they're lying to you. It doesn't sound like you're getting gaslit. You're actually being
Yeah,
able to believe it and be around people that you also think are the shit. They're just a
yeah,
different shit.
yeah. And when you talk to yourself in that way, if someone calls you an idiot, it would jar you, like, "Whoa, whoa, no one calls me that." But if you constantly talk to yourself like you're a piece of shit and you're no good, someone starts to talk to you like you're no good, you're like, "Oh, well, that tracks, that's about right."
Hmm.
But once you start talking to yourself a little differently, you start holding different boundaries for yourself.
Dude, even though we didn't get into the conversation I thought we were going to have, I am so glad that we got into this conversation. And dude, I appreciate all the energy, everything that you're giving off, and how really motivating you are. You're an entertainer, you're a motivational speaker, you're a funny ass dude. I haven't really watched any of your fights yet. I know I can see them on YouTube, but dude, I appreciate the energy and people like you being out here, just making the world a little bit better.
Man, I appreciate you and your service. Thank you.
Is is there a message that you would like to give to people that listen to this?
Uh, yeah, I would say the message is we all tell ourselves a story, whether that story is I'm bad with technology, or I'll never get the guy or the girl at the end of the movie, or I never get that promotion, or I'm not smart enough to figure out blank. Whatever that story is, I agree with you because you agree with you. If you change that story, you can accomplish whatever you want. You can get whatever you want in life. But if you constantly tell yourself you're not the type of person who deserves that, then you're writing the wrong story.
Hmm.
Uh, so, yeah, just celebrate yourself.
Cam, I really appreciate your time. I'm actually looking at the time and I know you got about 20 minutes before you gotta get off onto something else. I need to go use the head real quick and I gotta take off. Hey, dude, thank you so much for making the time for this.
Yeah.
And bro, you're more than honestly, the TED Talk that I listened to, you killed it, you crushed it, but you're a very genuine dude. You're more than just actually the persona on the stage. You are who you are.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
All right. Be in touch soon.
All right, take care.